I tell the guys, we're thin but mighty. Anybody that's ever asked about our program over the last few years, I've been saying the same thing. And
Princeton's always been a tough football team. One thing about us is we're going to play tough. We love to hit. Hitting is like preached, and it's like the gospel in Princeton.
I don't want to have all these rules and all these things that you got to try and memorize. Just the word all in. All in.
Football is one of the greatest sports in the world.
It was certainly emotional, no doubt about it. It always is between us and Ocean City.
I don't like losing. The kids don't like losing. And I don't want to lose to the same team over and over and over again. We want to win a state championship.
What's going on, everybody? Welcome to Cal One-on-One right here on Cape Atlantic Live, presented by Ulmer's Appliance Service. I'm your host, Nick Costco. As we gear up for a high school football season, we'll take a little bit of a detour and talk about some more off-the-field stuff. Right here with me tonight is Ish Showell of Axe Sports Group, and former Oakcrest standout, of course, played some college football over at West Virginia as well. Ish, good to talk to you, my man. Finally, I know this has been a while in the making right here, but you're very well represented in the South Jersey area as well as now nationwide for the most part. So we'll just start right out, especially with the NIL space in college athletics now trickling down to the high school level as well. Who knows what it's look like in 5 years? We're constantly adjusting to it in terms of covering it as well. I'm sure you're in the thick of it as well. So starting out with Axe Sports Group, for those who are not familiar, just a little bit about that and, how you came to found this company in your post-collegiate career.
Absolutely. For starters, I want to express gratitude and just say thank you for finding me being interesting enough to talk to. So I appreciate the opportunity. So Axe Sports, I've owned the business for about 2.5 years. And essentially what we do, we're in the NIL space. So we work with some high school athletes, some who are local in South Jersey and some around the country, and also work with a variety of college athletes and help them get connected with brands. And then we do what NIL was supposed to be, which isn't pay for play, but it's actually to create really compelling marketing campaigns for these brands, whether it's a startup company, a mid-market company, or a Fortune 500 company, which we've been able to work with some of those, which has been pretty cool. But what I'm most proud of when it comes to Axe Sports is not just the NIL piece, but it's really everything we're doing outside of NIL. We put a big focus on mental performance coaching in the sports psychology world. So you may know Tim Watson from South Jersey. He kind of heads that initiative for us. And me and Tim go way back. Tim was my defensive coordinator at Oakcrest for a couple of years. And I've had the luxury of getting closer with his family because I manage his daughter, who played at Mainland and played at Notre Dame for a couple of years. So we do that with our athletes. We also have a financial literacy offering. I think it's pretty irresponsible to own an NIL agency and not teach kids on how to work with money. I don't do that. I don't get into the weeds with it, but actually the logo and company I'm wearing, Soza Private Wealth, I partner with them, and they meet with my athletes many times throughout the year to talk credit, financial planning, different investment strategies, taxes, right? This NIL money, you got to pay taxes on it, and there's strategy around it, and a long list of other things. And last thing we do, we put a big focus on life after sports.
Yeah.
I think it's so easy to be so focused on these athletes when they're winning state championships and national championships. But when they're out of the spotlight, a lot of people just start disappearing. So we help our athletes get internships, full-time jobs, resume writing, and really being helping them create a strategy around like life after sports. So that's probably what I'm most passionate about. So that's kind of a high level of who we are and a little bit about Axe.
Yeah, for sure. So your football background, as I alluded to before, you played at Oakcrest. You played for Chuck Smith. Of course, everyone on this channel knows him now for, the recent success over at Mainland, of course, what he's done there as well. But you played for him when you guys made a great run back in the early, the late 2000s, early 2010s, and you went on to play college football at West Virginia. So you're obviously well invested into football. You told me before we got on the air, how big of a college football fan you were. So this is sort of the natural transition in terms of, you staying involved with athletics at the professional and, of course, the college level. when you got out of college and you're going through the workforce, and you eventually founded this company almost 3 years ago, was there always something in the back of your head like, I want to do something like this? Or was this not even a thought, considering NIL is still relatively young? It's only it came up within the last 5-6 years?
Yeah, I always knew that I wanted to be in sports, right? So right after my time at West Virginia, my first job was actually with the Colts. Another mainland legend. I reached out to Brent Caprio, and he was with the Colts at the time. Chuck kind of facilitated that introduction, and Brent was able to get me a role for a little bit over with the Colts, and I wanted to be a GM at the time. That didn't work out. It was a great experience, but it's a very competitive space. So I was not able to get the role that I wanted. So moved to Philly, got into the corporate world, and essentially just chased financial success. Growing up, pretty poor. I just wanted a different lifestyle for my future family. I'm now married and have a daughter, and I just wanted things to be a little bit different for her and both of them. And while I was moving up the ranks, which I was proud of, just wasn't passionate, about like my 9 to 5.
Right.
So I knew at some point I would get back into sports. I just didn't know to what capacity. And when NIL became a thing, I kind of just knew. I didn't know when, but I'm like, I'm going to get involved in some way. And I felt like I was the man, for the job, just playing sports my whole life, playing in college, having a business background, and most importantly, having a deep desire and passion for wanting to help young men and women just develop in all areas. So, and I wanted to do it differently. Right, which is why I've implemented the mental performance, and the life after sports, and the financial literacy. I think it's just what kids need, especially in an era where there's a lot of distractions. Right? Social media and all the screens and technology. While some of it's great, sometimes I get concerned about the younger generation. So I can't change, everybody, but I think if you can be a part of the ACTS program and you really lean in to everything that we offer, I think we can add a lot of value and help you transform.
So you go from the Colts, you go into the business world, and you realize, hey, GM thing's not going to work out. And then you're like, all right, let me try something different now. You found this company, an ACTS Sports Group. Because NIL was so, and I like how you phrased it too. You wanted to get back to. It's kind of weird to say, it's actually get back to what it was, considering it's so young. But go make NIL what it's supposed to be, which is the local car dealership wants to sponsor you and give you a check if you advertise their business, or any local business like that, rather than just the straight pay for play, which is what college athletics has essentially gotten to the point right now. Until we can run through all the federal legislation all we want, but of course we'll be here for another 2 hours talking about where that's actually going to go. So when you start this thing out, and I'm glad you brought up the mental performance stuff and the life after athletics, is that initially what you thought you were going to do? It's like, all right, we need to hit all these key points and not just NIL, or are you just like, you know what, we'll start with NIL and maybe everything else will work out? What were some of the first steps when you said, all right, I want to create this company and create this brand to help out these athletes?
Yeah, the first initial thought, truthfully, was just I wanted to make real impact. And I knew there was more I could offer outside of just helping a kid make $5,000. Right. I didn't know what it was, but pretty quickly, I whipped out the whiteboard and I just started doing a deep dive. And I was doing some reflecting on what has made me, what's helped me become the man I am today. And a big piece of that was Tim. Tim Watson just really helped transform my mind. And a lot of the things he taught me when I was in high school from a mental performance standpoint made me a better husband, made me a better father, a better entrepreneur, a better leader overall. So for me, it's just like, what can I be doing to help these kids? Not when they're 18, but can I teach them something that's going to stick with them when they're 32 and they got 3 kids, right? Or when they're 40 and they got grandkids, whatever the case may be. So that's kind of how I naturally went down that path and thought about mental performance. And then, with the NIL space, you got kids making multiple 6 figures, some millions. I think it's just irresponsible for me to be the adult and not teach these kids on how the money world works. So that's kind of where we came about that. And then the life after sports piece, to me, that was super simple. I even feel like for me, I was no first round draft pick or anything like that, right? Nothing special. But even me, when I stopped playing football, a lot of people used to text me and reach out. That just kind of faded away. And that transition period, which is inevitable, it will happen. That transition can be very scary for a lot of people.
Yeah.
Now, I think I don't want to say rare, but I always knew that I'm more than a football player. I'm going to be great at something. I don't know what it's going to be, but I'm going to be great at something.
Yeah.
Most don't think like that. So, the life after sports piece, to me, that was a no-brainer. And we're doing other stuff now, but that's kind of our bread and butter. And, we like to, we're loud and proud about that.
Yeah.
And a lot of the parents really resonate with it.
Right. I think it really makes you guys stand out. Again, that might be the primary initiative. Sometimes kids don't see that yet, especially when they're in high school. And, if they're a 16-year-old, they're getting heavily recruited. They don't maybe see that quite yet, because they're like, all right, if I'm getting paid now like this in college, I'm going to get really paid when I get to the NFL, and so on and so forth. So I'm curious about how you guys have been able to navigate the NIL space, I guess, strictly from a financial perspective. And I don't want to say compete against the pay-for-play stuff. Maybe you do or maybe you don't. But since that is a huge piece of it now, especially with the big schools, the big Power 4 schools are going to say, we have these collectives, and essentially it's a pool of money where we can offer a kid just a blank, I don't want to say a blank check, but X amount of dollars compared to even a smaller Power 4 school where it's like, well, the advertisement deals with our local car dealership or, local eatery or something along those lines. How have you explained this to the athletes that you sign? It's like, we're not necessarily going to go out and get you six figures before you even take a snap or shoot a basket at the college level, but we can get you something and also prepare you with all this other stuff.
For me, it was simple, Nick. You have a 4 to 5 year window to maximize your opportunities, monetary and non-monetary. And you can't walk with the mindset that the NFL, NBA, WNBA, wherever the case may be, is guaranteed. Nothing's guaranteed in life, right? All you got is today. So I just encourage my athletes, hey, if your school's paying you $50,000 a year, your school's paying you $2 million a year, whatever the case may be. They will do what they need to do. But let us bring you more opportunities. Why say no to extra money?
Yeah.
And some of the struggles sometimes I have with some of the athletes is that they don't understand that, hey, when you're 30 years old and you're no longer playing sports, you're going to wish you made those 2 social media posts for $5,000 because it's just not that easy to make $5,000 in this world. So that's a lot of the narratives that I push. Just get all the opportunities you can, while you can. In addition to that, making money directly from the school is great, but that's not necessarily teaching you how to build a brand, right? Which is something that can pay you for a lifetime, right? You get enough followers on social media, you post enough really good content. There's ways to monetize that and essentially be an influencer. So that's kind of the angle that we take. Right, is that we're teaching you a skill that the school is not necessarily teaching you to do. And I mean, Nick, you know this just as well as me. I think that's really important in the wrestling community. Because there is no NFL or NBA. Right. You obviously can go MMA, jiu-jitsu, UFC, but there's a journey, to get there. So if you can fund tournaments and have a lifestyle through social media revenue, that's a great thing. But you got to learn how to do it. And that's a lot of the things we're teaching our kids.
I like to hear that. Yeah, the wrestling example. Yeah, aside from the 3 very young pro leagues, and if you're not making the Olympic or world team, it's like, all right, you got to take a chance on a startup league essentially. So I'm curious about some of the local athletes that you guys have represented, going into college or as they almost get to the pro game of their respective sports. So athletes like Kylie Watson, you already alluded to her, of course. Mainland basketball legend, and she's now over at Villanova for a grad year. Damari Simeon, I know you guys represent him. He is now just committed to Ohio State, plays for St. Augustine Prep, and other football stars like Amir Dunbar and even Elijah Stewart, who's killing it. Not on the D1 level, but having a good career right now. So, just athletes like that. I mean, did you guys initially say, you know what, we're a brand new company, maybe the kid in Nebraska. I believe you have a Nebraska football player among your athletic roster as well, but it's like we're not necessarily going to get those guys quite yet. Like, so we'll start in the area that we know. And I know you've partnered. I know Brandon Bell, a former teammate of yours, also works here. He played football over at Penn State, short NFL stint as well. Did you guys think like, all right, maybe we need to start local with the old school Cape Atlantic League and then branch out? Or did you maybe have a stroke of luck and say, hey, we got this random guy from California or Nebraska, and then maybe we'll build off from there?
Yeah, I mean, for me, it's a yes and yes. Right. It's like, hey, like, let's start small. But at the same time, South Jersey is not small. South Jersey is some of the best football in the country, in my opinion. The state of New Jersey, some of the best football, in the country. So I think for me, it was just being strategic. This is where my relationships are. Right. So I'm going to start here. I was able to sign Kylie as our first athlete. That was through a relationship. I was actually grabbing dinner with her last night with one of her most recent NIL deals. The head of marketing, we did a quick dinner. But all in all, we were strategic with starting in South Jersey, but we were excited about that. A lot of great talent here, Damari being one of them. We also work with Kenny Smith, who I feel like South Jersey legend between Hamilton and Glassboro, and is at Monmouth. And it's just cool. Like I have a map in my head on how we've gotten to each athlete. And there's always a unique story. The Nebraska football player you're referring to, that's Ja'Cory Barney.
Yes.
He was a 4-star athlete coming out of Florida. I think you'll hear his name a lot, this year. And we heard his name a lot last year. He's one of the best freshman receivers in the country. And I think it gets overlooked sometimes because everybody was talking about Jeremiah Smith out of Ohio State. We work with Austin Simmons, the starting quarterback at Ole Miss, and a ton of other incredible athletes like Jordan Chapman, so it's been a really cool journey. But we started local, and I will always try to look out for South Jersey athletes in North Jersey because I just think it's a great state to recruit in. But at this point, we're pretty national, and we'll keep doing that.
All the Rutgers fans that know me, of course, will be very excited for Jordan Chapman. I've been hyping him up, I think, for 2 years now at this point. So he'll be obviously.
I can give Jordan a quick shout out. He actually I don't know if you know this. He does jiu-jitsu and he strikes, and he actually just won his first jiu-jitsu tournament down in Wildwood a few days ago.
Look, all my teammates were over there, or I think we had about 9, 10, or 11 teammates over at Harbor Jiu-Jitsu, compete in that tournament. So it was like, oh my goodness, it's one of the biggest jiu-jitsu tournaments that Naga puts on. So that's good to hear. He's multifaceted, and then being the athletic freak he is, of course, I would say he definitely deserves that type of win. So I'll dive into more as far as the NIL management is concerned in a second. We'll take a quick break right here on Cal One-on-One, right here on Cape Atlantic Live.
This broadcast is brought to you by Chelsea's Messy Kitchen. For all your custom-baked goods, Chelsea can do it all. From cakes to cookies to extravagant desserts, you can customize your order to your liking. Having a party, sending a gift, or just because, you'll find a delicious creation at an affordable price. For more information and to place your order, visit Chelsea's Messy Kitchen on Facebook and Instagram, or call 609-365-0208.
So it was interesting you mentioned Austin Simmons. I was going to get to him in a second. I'll get to this now because I'm curious about what you guys do with, I guess, a growing list of clients where, and I know you guys are in the influencer game a little bit too as well, trying to get, I guess, expand the Act Sports brand as well. But when you have a roster, so to speak, that's just growing, I'm not sure how many employees you guys have at this point, but when you have more and more clients, how have you guys been able to divvy that up and I guess manage all of them essentially simultaneously? Because there are a lot of football players, a lot of basketball players. So these sports do overlap, and as you guys get bigger and more nationally recognized than you already are, the demands get higher. So I'm curious about how you guys manage that from athlete to athlete.
Yeah, I think step one is having a really good sales team. Right. So we can give everyone enough coverage. It's cool to say, hey, we work with this person, that person. But if we're not giving them a good experience, right, there's a lot of consequences that comes with that. So one, having a really good sales team. And I would say too, just having like the right internal resources,
Yeah.
right? Making sure that we're doing all the mental performance sessions with everybody, right? We're doing all the financial literacy sessions for the kids who are about to graduate who, it doesn't look like they're going pro. Are we having the appropriate conversations with them? So just making sure we're doing all the little things right. In regards to your question about, our team, we're at about 12 now. Everyone's got, different responsibilities. And the beautiful thing about the Axe team, Nick, I would say everyone is super leaned in and sees the big picture, right? We're not Rich Paul right now, and however big that agency is, but we all believe we'll be there one day. And I think we'll be there one day because of, all the things that we offer. I know I've been kind of pushing that narrative throughout the call, and that's intentional. Right. The mental performance, the financial literacy, the life after sports. Truthfully, Nick, I want to be known for that.
Yeah.
The NIL stuff is cool and working with incredible athletes, but I think if the narrative can be Axe does these things outside of NIL, I think that's what's going to make us really memorable. But the only other thing I'd say around managing a growing roster is you just can't say yes to everybody.
Yeah.
Which has been tough for me because I'm a nice guy and I want to, work with everybody.
Right.
But I'm at a point where, we just have to be really strategic and, we'll have to pass on some opportunities to work with some kids and just work with the ones that we think we can do best with right now.
So I know you alluded to wrestling before. I'm not gonna make it a wrestling podcast. Of course, I would love to.
Not a problem.
But you already mentioned Jordan Chapman. You guys represent Adrian DeJesus, who's state champion, and of course
two-time.
Two-time. I almost forgot about that because unfortunately he got he had a lot of injuries this past year, but he ended his career very strong, gutting out through injuries. He's going to Cornell, so I'm curious from the wrestling perspective because you're representing athletes just like that. The big one though, which I was fascinated, and I was fascinated to come to find out that you guys do represent, is Bella Mir. And of course, if people are familiar with that name, Frank Mir, father, former UFC champion, and Bella wrestled at the University of Iowa. She recently did, I believe, the UFC's BJJ event as well. In addition to that, she also fights MMA. I think she did pretty much all of them back to back within a couple months span, which is very impressive. Now, working with someone like that, again, with the UFC branding, I'm curious how that relationship has worked out for you guys.
It's been an incredible relationship. First off, Bella is just so humble, right? You would never know. She's probably one of the most dangerous people in Las Vegas because she's just so nice. But it's been awesome to see her grow in every way. Her social media is getting bigger. She was just doing an interview with, I think it was Ariel. I'm drawing a blank on who it was. But it's just cool to see her develop in all sports, wrestling, jiu-jitsu, MMA. I was actually with her last weekend. She had a fight with Fury down in Houston. I'm no jiu-jitsu pro, but I think she finished her opponent with a chicken wing. I don't know if that's familiar.
But yeah, I believe she did. I think it was like a funky submission. I think it went viral last week, and I was just like, okay, yeah, she's literally blending all the sports together now.
Yeah. So it's been cool to see her thrive, and I'm like convinced she's a future UFC champion, right? And I think a lot of people around her believe that. If you look at what her dad did, I think we have good reason to believe that too. But when I talk about her, I try not to really talk about her dad, if I'm being honest, because I think what she has accomplished by herself has been incredible, herself. But of course, shout out to her father and the whole Mir family for supporting her, teaching her everything. But I try to show her as much love as I can because she's a grinder.
Without a doubt. So I wanted to circle back. I only have a couple more for you. I appreciate your time tonight.
Yeah, you're all good.
When you look at the opportunities that you guys have provided for these athletes off the field, off the court, wherever the case may be, and it's mostly going to stem from, or it's mostly going to be related to what they're going to do after their athletic career is over, whether it's over after college or it's over after a short or long pro career. I don't know if you have any prime examples quite yet, because I feel like, again, the company's still young and a lot of these athletes are still in their athletic prime, so to speak. So you talked about before how that's what you are, that's what you and your employees want to be remembered for. It's like, yep, NIL is great. Branding's great. Putting them out on their own is great. It's like raising extra children, essentially. But it's like we want to be known for what they're going to accomplish after their athletic careers are over, and that we helped get them there. is there any moment right now that stands out? Maybe an example from that right now, or something that maybe somebody is going towards eventually?
Yeah, I mean, I'll give you a quick example.
Mm.
We had an athlete we worked with for about 2 years named Ruben Hippolyte, who actually just got drafted by the Bears. I think it was third or fourth round. He was a linebacker at Maryland, and he was very passionate about being a rapper. And I took that serious, right? There's plenty of opportunity in the music game. But my thing was, hey, if you want to get into the music game, there's a lot of other ways to monetize that industry outside of just making music. So we got him in contact with someone that I know named Shanna Sherman, who's an executive kind of in the Def Jam music industry world. I was able to get them on a variety of calls where she listened to his music, gave him real-time feedback, what was good, what wasn't good, and then really schooled him on, hey, you can make money making music, but did you ever consider this? Right? Did you know if you do this and you do it really well, you can make X, Y, and Z? And it ended up being like a almost 90-minute call of her just dropping gems. And you could tell he was just blown away. So that's just like one example off the top of my head.
Yeah.
And we try to do that not just as they're nearing the end of the career, right? But I think we need to be having these conversations with these kids that are in high school.
Yeah.
Right. I try not to have all my conversations be about sports. Naturally, what we do, that just kind of doesn't happen anyway. We're talking about mental performance and financial literacy and all that stuff. But early on, I'm trying to understand what makes you tick, outside of hitting people and dunking in basketball. I'll give you one last example. I was in Atlanta this past weekend. I was meeting with some of my athletes in Georgia. There's a kid named Kingston Brown. He actually just wrapped up his freshman year at Carver High School. There's a pretty big, popular high school in Georgia. He's already got 14 offers. And I spent a lot of time with him and his mom talking about life after sports, right? What else do you want to do? And I think there's just so much power in creating a moment and just asking the question, right? Most people aren't asking him that question right now. They're just talking about football and getting better and running a faster 40. So my job is to kind of plant that seed in your head and hopefully help you start thinking about what life could look like for you in 5 or 10 or 20 years.
That makes sense. And yeah, just looking at Kingston Brown, of course, you mentioned he wrapped up his freshman year. So he's class of 2028. He's, the offers are already pouring in. Yeah. It's amazing. Even our Georgia side on three is always like, you know what? We believe that Georgia already has an early run in for Kingston Brown, and the kid has another 3 years of high school football. So I'll leave you here with this one before before we plug all your social media and all that good stuff. I wanted to circle back to the mental performance type stuff. That I find that very fascinating. I'm very into it when it comes to sports like wrestling and fighting, because I think that's an entirely different mentality compared to football, basketball, golf, whatever the case may be. But every sport at the highest level always circles back to how are you mentally? Can you perform mentally? But sometimes that's going to be more than half the battle compared to physically. So what kind of do you guys give mental coaching? Is it more of just tweaks here and there? How do you guys approach the mental coaching or the mental side of things with all these athletes, especially the ones that are, receiving all this attention and they're 16, 17 years old?
Yeah. I mean, I would say a few things. One, I think it's mandatory, right? Because I think the challenge, the hurdle, that's inevitable. It will happen in your life. It might be in your sport. It might be through injuries. It might be a relationship. It might be a death in the family. I can go on and on, right? You can't escape this life without some type of trial and tribulation. So when it comes, are you ready? And one of the first things I ask, these athletes is, hey, how are you mentally? A lot of them say, hey, I'm good. And I hope that's the truth. And even if that is the truth, that's great. But there's a lot more room for improvement, right? Because when that hurdle comes, I want you to have a big tool bag to tap into, right? So you can kind of get past that easily. I think that's always been one of my strengths, is being able to fall and get back down, right? I'm not perfect, but I get up quick. Yeah. A lot of people, they stay down for a long time mentally. In regards to kind of what we talk about, and it's not me, right? It's all Coach Watson. I'm just a fly on the wall.
Yeah.
I'm blessed that they let me be in the calls. But it's really tailored, to the athlete. What are they going through? And if they're generally in a good spot, I would say it's categorized around visualization, right? I'm a big believer in what you see in your mind, you can bring it out into the real world. You still got to put in the work, right? Nothing comes for free, but there's a lot of power in being able to see things in your mind. A lot of it's around mental rehab when you're bouncing back from an injury. Everyone talks about the physical rehab, but how about this piece? In my opinion, I think this is the bigger challenge when you're bouncing back from an ACL there, right? There's positive self-talk. I think we all know people in this world who say, I'm fat, I'm ugly, oh, I'm stupid, right? Oh, I can't, I'm bad at math. And they don't understand there's so much power in the tongue. So if there's power, let's just use it for better and not for worse. So it's just like little tweaks like that. And there's a ton more that Coach Watson talks about, but those are just like a few things off the top of my head. And the athletes love it because most aren't doing it with them. And even if there is a team that has a sports psychologist on staff, it's very reactive.
Yeah.
Right. Or there's just not enough sessions. And for us, we want to be proactive. We want to be in your face about it every single month. Let's talk about it. And I think our athletes have really resonated, with that strategy.
That's great stuff. And yeah, I think, non-athletes can obviously, benefit from that too. Even just mentioning the positive self-talk, with whatever you do. So, all right, Ish, again, I appreciate your time tonight. This is awesome. The floor is yours. Whatever social media you want to plug, websites, contact information, whatever you want to throw out there, the floor is yours.
Instagram, axe.sportsgroup. Our website is www.axesportsgroup.com. And if you're an athlete out there in South Jersey or somewhere else in the country, you want to take the NIL game serious, but you also really resonate with a lot of the other things I talked about, financial literacy, mental performance, life after sports, this could be the place for you. And if those other three things don't resonate with you, I would say we're not the place to be. This is something we take really serious. It's a non-negotiable. And Nick, I just want to wrap up and express gratitude again and say I appreciate you reaching out. Maybe one day we could roll together and do jiu-jitsu, but I'm in no place to do that right now. But maybe one day.
That's all right. Of course, hey, it's a process like anything else. Some days I'm just like, well, maybe I shouldn't even be doing this sport either. So
you know what I do? I'll call Jordan Chapman. I'll get some tips from him.
I don't want to mess with Jordan. I just want to broadcast this match as far as I'll go. So it's Showell with me here on Cal 101 presented by Ulmer's Appliance Service. You can follow Axe Sports Group on Instagram. Check out the website at axesportsgroup.com. And Ish, we'll talk to you soon, man. I appreciate it.
Thank you, man. Take care.